OSU begins offering hybrid classes to give students more options, a deadly tornado sweeps through the Midwest, and a Pentagon Report under fire. All that and more right here on the Beaver News.
Good evening, happy Leap Day, and welcome to the Beaver News, live on Channel 26. This is your Wednesday night edition. My name is Cassady Gilroy.
And I'm Brenda Ivey. If you find yourself not wanting to go to classes sometimes, the new hybrid courses at OSU may be perfect for you. Amanda Antel of the Daily Barometer reports that OSU will run trial hybrid courses starting spring term. With an ever-growing student population, the hybrid courses may turn out to be an efficient alternative. Classes are held half online and half in the classroom, with students only spending half as much time in the classroom as with a traditional lecture. A benefit of the hybrid course is that there are no additional fees like there are associated with the eCampus classes. Spring term will introduce Psychology 202 and Engineering 213, picked by the feasibility and popularity among students. If the pilot program is a success, expect to see more hybrid classes in the future, which will mean more classes available to choose from and possibly less time in the classroom.
As it turns out, Mom was right. Researchers from the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University recently found 2 ways that cancer is prevented by eating vegetables. Particularly in broccoli, there exists a compound known as sulforaphane, which is also prevalent in other cruciferous vegetables. These are vital in helping the body restore balance and prevent the development of cancer. It's part of a mechanism known as epigenetics, which refers to the way our genetic code can be activated through various diet, toxins, and other factors. What vegetables like broccoli do is help regulate what DNA material gets read in the right sequence. Cancer interferes with this process and thus throws the body's natural processes off. Emily Ho, an associate professor in the Linus Pauling Institute, commented, quote, "Cancer is very complex, and it's usually not just one thing that has gone wrong. It's increasingly clear that sulforaphane is a real multitasker. The more we find out about it, the more benefits it appears to have."
Fall term at the 7 schools in the Oregon University system saw a record 100,316 students, according to an OUS news release and reported by Kristen Pugmire in the Daily Barometer. This record enrollment is considered a milestone by the OUS. Rapid growth among the universities is an important goal and has some advantages, most of which is the potential to improve the state's economy with more people in the state going to college. Dee Saunders, OSU Director of Communications, had this to say, quote, "There is a great amount of evidence that the more highly skilled, highly educated people there are in a state, the higher per capita income, healthier state economy, greater job stability, and more diversity of companies willing to stay and come to Oregon," end quote. Oregon University Systems has a goal of 40-40-20. They hope to reach by 2025, with 40% of Oregonians holding a bachelor's degree or higher, 40% holding an associate's degree, and 20% having a high school diploma. We now go to Kim Stoll with a report from the Humane Society. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
And so we've been in this building.
Oregon State University continues to be recognized in many regards, and it's because of people like Kelly Kozisek. Kelly is the manager of OSU's Procurement and Contract Services, and she recently completed the Universal Public Procurement Certification Council. This makes her one in only 59 people nationally to do so. She hopes that one day the entire PACS department will be agency certificated. She said, quote, "We want our PACS staff to possess the knowledge and skills to operate effectively and efficiently to help the university community and stakeholders by continuing to develop even higher levels of professionalism, knowledge, and proficiency," end quote. The Procurement and Contract Services Department is responsible for helping all other departments get what they need, be it a piece of software or arranging contracts with affiliations or events.
OSU has joined the Pacific Earthquake Engineering Research Center, also known as PEER, which is a research and educational organization that includes over 20 universities, private companies, and government agencies, all focused on performance-based earthquake engineering. OSU is the first university to be added to the core institution since 1997. OSU has extensive programs for earthquake engineering, seismic safety, as well as one of the nation's most sophisticated tsunami research basins. Stephen Main, director of the center, said, quote, "With their wide range of expertise, resources, and connections in the state of Oregon, PEER anticipates that OSU researchers will make important contributions to a variety of activities, especially our tsunami and lifeline research programs." End quote. Besides research, PEER also holds conferences, professional workshops, and educational programs and outreach to policymakers. For more information, follow their link on the OSU website. We are headed into our first short break, but don't go anywhere because when we return, we have a sports update and a look at the news around the nation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on Channel 26. In today's world of shaky oil futures, it's important to learn what exactly is causing the decline in the availability of fuels, which is why Richard Heinberg came to Corvallis. As reported by Kim Kenny of the Daily Barometer, Richard is the author of a book titled The End of Growth and is widely recognized as one of the foremost peak oil educators. He presented at the Corvallis High School auditorium earlier today, where he addressed the possibility that the current models of economic expansion are not the best measures of our welfare, and perhaps an insatiable desire for consumption cannot be a sustainable means for well-being. It is Heinberg's belief, too, that the transition away from fossil fuels and the resulting restructuring of our economy and society will be one of the pivotal points in human history, alongside agriculture and verbal languages.
Tomorrow, the Campus Coalition Builders will be co-sponsoring a discussion called Shattering Mental Healthism, continuing the conversation. Katja Cosbear of the Daily Barometer reports that the event will focus on highlighting the struggles and misconceptions of mental illness. Michelle Ruberio, one of the psychologists for CAPS, said, "Unfortunately, many people with health issues are often looked down upon for having a disorder, but also because their disorder may not be apparent to others. Facilitators will guide topics for the discussion, but the event is intended for visitors to share their personal stories and thoughts and find support amongst each other. The discussion is open from noon to 1:30 in MU 206. There will be a break for lunch, but visitors do need to provide their own food. The event is open to anyone who wishes to attend." We now go to Cassady Gilroy for a look at the weather.
Good evening, Corvallis. Tonight I have your 5-day forecast. Expect to see a rain-snow mixture with a low 32 degrees tonight. And on Thursday, more snow with a chance of rain late in the day. The high for tomorrow is 45 degrees and the low temperature is 34 degrees. Friday, we have some cloudy skies with a high of 48 degrees and a low of 39 degrees at night. And on Saturday, expect to see some sun with a high of 54 degrees and a low of 37 degrees. And on Sunday, we have more sun with a high of 59 degrees and a low of 41 degrees at night. Some crazy weather ahead of us. Back to you guys in the studio.
OSU students pay $412.47 in student fees to fund various organizations. Do you ever wonder where all that money is going? With over 20,000 students at OSU, that is a serious amount of cash. Have some ideas of how you think that money could be better spent? Each year, the Student Incidental Fee Committee allows students an open forum to give their input on the matter, and that time is tomorrow, March 1st at 6 p.m. in the Memorial Union Ballroom. For more information on the current SIFC budget, go to oregonstate.edu/SIFC.
ASOSU is again in the spotlight after the Memorial Union Advisory Board voted 7-3 on Friday in a decision that will result in the removal of both the Memorial Union President and Vice President from the Associated Students of Oregon State University General Elections ticket. Drew Wilson McGrath of the Daily Barometer reports that the positions will now be officially vetted through a hiring process to be later determined by the Advisory Board officials. Despite the fact that only 10 of 12 voting members were present for the meeting last Friday, the vote generated by those present represents a significant change for the future of the MU organization. Queries had also risen among members of the board regarding whether the MU president should still be selected by the student body, or also moved into a hiring process to be determined by the advisory board officials in the future. The responses from students and faculty were limited, mostly consisting of the opinions of student members already involved with the MU. The desired feedback seemed to lack input from students not directly affiliated with the organization.
Yesterday afternoon, prosecutor David Joyce said 17-year-old TJ Lane admitted he took a .22 caliber gun and a knife to school Monday morning and fired 10 shots at random victims, reports CNN. Joyce predicts that Lane will be facing 3 counts of aggravated murder and will be tried as an adult. Joyce told reporters, quote, "He chose his victims at random. This is not about bullying. This is not about drugs. This is someone who is not well, and I'm sure in our court case we will prove to all of your desires that we will make sure that justice is done in our county," end quote. There is a hearing set for March 19th. Early Tuesday, Demetrius Hewlin was the 3rd victim of the shooting to die. Russell King Jr. was pronounced brain dead Tuesday morning, and Daniel Parameter died on Monday. 1 student still remains hospitalized. The motive for the shooting has not been discovered, although the gun used has been found. It was dropped inside of the school by Lane, who allegedly stole the gun from his uncle, who had purchased it illegally. The shooting has received national attention as people struggle to understand how one student could affect so many lives. Break of the evening, but we will have a look at more of your national and international stories in just a minute.
Welcome back to the Beaver News live on Channel 26. A number of tornadoes hit the Midwest early today, resulting in the deaths of at least 7 people, reports CNN. At least 6 died in Harrisburg, Illinois, as a twister destroyed a path of at least 4 football fields wide. Around 100 people were injured, with 300 houses damaged or destroyed, along with 25 businesses. The National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center issued tornado watches through noon for parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Arkansas, Illinois, and Missouri. The tornado that hit Harrisburg was rated an EF4, the 2nd highest on the scale, according to the Weather Service. A state of emergency has been declared for Harryville, Kansas. Emergency teams are currently on site providing aid.
A relieved Mitt Romney revitalized his campaign for Republican presidential nomination by winning primaries in both Arizona and his native Michigan last night, reports CNN. Needing both states to surpass conservative challenger Rick Santorum, Romney acknowledged the victory was too close for his comfort. Polls showed Romney ahead with 41% to Santorum's 38% in Michigan and 48% to Santorum's 26% in Arizona. Though technically Romney won in Michigan, CNN just released that Romney and Santorum will be evenly splitting the state's 30 delegates. On Monday, Santorum launched an automated phone dialer asking Democrats to vote for him in Michigan, where, unlike Oregon, voters can vote regardless of party affiliation. Interestingly enough, just last month, Santorum was complaining about such crossover tactics when he claimed that Romney was trying to entice Democrat voters. Santorum responded to Romney by saying, quote, "We want the people who make up the backbone of the Republican Party to have a say in who our nominee is, as opposed to a bunch of people who don't even identify themselves as Republicans picking our nominee," end quote. Newt Gingrich is holding on with only 7% in Michigan and 16% in Arizona.
A Pentagon report released yesterday detailing the military's Dover Air Force Base mortuary reveals that some remains of U.S. troops and the 9/11 attacks ended up in a landfill. As reported by CNN, Dover Air Force Base is where the remains of deceased U.S. Armed Forces first arrived home from overseas. The report says that in 2002, some unidentified and already cremated remains were placed in sealed containers, handed over to a biomedical waste contractor, and then transported in containers and incinerated a second time. The biomedical waste contractor apparently assumed that nothing was left and thus felt it was all right to dispose of it. The White House issued a statement on the subject which said, quote, "The President has been briefed on the independent review of Dover Port Mortuary and strongly supports the Pentagon's efforts to make needed systematic structural changes so that these types of incidents never happen again."
Famed children's author Jan Berenstein died at the age of 88, reports CNN. Along with her husband Stan Berenstein, created the popular children's series The Berenstein Bears. The Big Honey Hunt was the first book to feature the Bear family, published in 1962. In the past 50 years, over 330 Berenstein Bears books were published. The books were so popular that in 1979, NBC had an animated TV special made, and the stories were then made into a hit TV show that aired daily on PBS in 2002. Stan Berenstein died in 2005, and Jan continued the Berenstein Bears series with her son Mike.
Douglas Kennedy, the son of Robert F. Kennedy, will face misdemeanor charges for an incident at a New York hospital last month, reports CNN. At Northern Westchester Hospital in Mount Kisco, Kennedy attempted to take his newborn son outside for a walk against the wishes of two nurses who tried to prevent him from leaving. Kennedy allegedly twisted the arm of one nurse to move her away and kicked the other. Kennedy's doctor, who was accompanying him at the time, claimed that the nurses had initially agreed to let Kennedy take the baby outside. However, Elliot Taub, the attorney for both nurses, countered that the baby had not been discharged yet, and the nurses had not recognized Kennedy as the father, and were only intending to protect the baby. Kennedy was arraigned Thursday on harassment and child endangerment charges.
A study published Tuesday in the Journal of Neurology shows that people who don't get enough omega-3 fatty acids, like fish oil, are more likely to experience accelerated brain aging, reports CNN. Dr. Zaldi Tan, a member of the UCLA Easton Center for Alzheimer's Disease Research in the Department of Neurology, and his colleagues compared patients' blood levels for two nutrients found in omega-3 fatty acids, along with comparing MRI brain scans and cognitive tests. The results of the testing showed that people in the bottom 25% scored lower on mental tests such as problem solving, abstract thinking, and multitasking. Dr. Tan also found patients with lower levels of omega-3 fatty acids had a higher number of lesions on the brain, which can lead to the risk of having a stroke, dementia, or even death. The typical American diet doesn't contain enough of the beneficial nutrient. Soybeans, walnuts, spinach, and fatty fish such as salmon are all good sources to help add omega fatty 3 acids to your diet.
North Korea has agreed to suspend their nuclear activities in exchange for food aid from the United States, reports CNN. These activities include nuclear tests, long-range missile launches, and nuclear enrichment tests. The United States agreed to organize a package of 400,000 metric tons of nutritional assistance to North Korea in return. Intensive monitoring will be conducted to ensure that this aid is made to those in need and not diverted to military or governmental elites. A spokesman from North Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said this deal is part of an effort to improve relations between the two countries. He said, quote, "The U.S. also agreed to take steps to increase people-to-people exchanges, including in the areas of culture, education, and sports." End quote. This was the first meeting between the U.S. and North Korea since the death of Kim Jong-il, the former leader of North Korea, in December. We now go to Mary Johnson with a look at Pac-12 athletics.
Thanks, Cassady. If there will be one gymnastics meet this season that will truly show what Oregon State is made of, it will be this Friday's meet at the University of Utah. The number 9 ranked Beavers travel to Salt Lake City to take on the number 7 ranked Utes. With only 3 meets remaining and the postseason looming in the background, a conference win over Utah will be the stepping stone the team wants. History is not on OSU's side, however. In 28 tries, the Beavers have never won a meet at Utah. And not only that, the Utes have played part in knocking Oregon State out of getting into the Super 6 at Nationals last season. Oregon State ranks 5th in the nation in average attendance, averaging 4,275 people per meet at Gill Coliseum. Utah, however, ranks 1st and blows OSU out of the water, averaging 13,501 people. They even draw a crowd just shy of under 16,000 on their senior night. Utah will present the most significant challenge for Oregon State for the remainder of the regular season. Win, and the Beavers will have won in Utah for the first time in school history. If Oregon State women's basketball team finishes in 4th or higher in the Pac-12, they will have met their goal in the season and have a first-round bye in next week's Pac-12 tournament. In order to get there, however, the team must win both of their games this weekend against Utah and Colorado and beat the Utes, and the UCLA Bruins must lose either Thursday at Washington State or Saturday at Washington. There are other possible scenarios, but the bottom line is OSU will need to get a sweep this weekend on the road. OSU is set to face Utah on Thursday, and on Saturday they will go to Boulder to face Colorado. OSU beat both of these teams earlier this season by decisive margins. The 2012 Pac-12 Men's Swimming Championships will take place today through Saturday at East Los Angeles College Swim Center in Monterey Park, California. A winner of 30 straight conference titles, Stanford is again the team to beat, but will face tough competition as 3 other league teams join the Cardinal in the top 6. With several national team members in the field, the Pac-12 championships continue to showcase some of the top athletes in collegiate swimming. The unanimous #1 team since early December, Arizona completed an undefeated regular season that included big wins over USC, California, Stanford, and Texas. Leading the Wildcats, redshirt Corey Chitwood, a U.S. national team member and 11 all-time All-American. And that's your look at Pac-12 sports.
That's all the news we have for you tonight, but be sure to tune in Monday night at 7 o'clock where we'll have a look at your local, national, and international news. Have a good night, everyone.